Baseball season is officially over in Missoula. Welcome back to Bird Watching, here for our season recap show. I'm AJ Mazzolini of the Missoulian newspaper. The Osprey finished their season over the weekend in Billings, the end of the regular season, and it was kind of an interesting end because the Osprey didn't really get to finish. They had 2 games rained out against Billings, and that started on Friday when a big storm came through and canceled Friday's game, and they were going to play that thing as a doubleheader on Saturday. Could only get one of those games in, though, before the rain came back, and this time brought a little bit of hail with them. And the field was in such bad shape that for Sunday, they just decided to call off both games, couldn't get the field ready for the playing conditions. With the Pioneer League postseason starting on Monday, it was all just a wash. So the Osprey end their season at 31-42. That's good for 3rd in the Pioneer League's North Division, ahead of those Billings Mustangs. Now, if you remember, the Osprey were the Pioneer League champions last year, and obviously they will not be repeating. The North Division playoffs started on Monday with the Helena Brewers at Great Falls Voyagers. The Brewers took the first game of that little series. And down in the South Division, we have Grand Junction and Idaho Falls playing right now. And the winner of those 2 series will meet up a little bit later on, probably toward the end of the week, to decide the Pioneer League champion for 2013. And a little interesting note out of the Southern Division is that this is the first time that there is not a state of Utah representative in the playoffs since 1999. So almost 15 years it's been, and that dated back to way in the beginning when only Ogden was the Utah team down there. Now there's a couple of them that have been Ogden and Orem and a couple other teams. Provo used to be in the league, is no longer, obviously. Let's transition a little bit into our season recap here again. We'll talk about the top performances from the year, starting with our best performance category. It was pretty obvious, actually, one with the bat and one on the pitching mound. Two games that stood out really for the Osprey this season as the best overall. We'll start with the battery, and that is Jose Calez, the catcher and designated hitter for the Osprey this season. He had himself a game on July 31st. He hit for the cycle, going 4 for 4 with 3 runs scored. Hit his home run, his triple, and then finished it off with a double and a single, starting with the most difficult and working his way back through. That was right in the middle where Jose Calez was just getting crazy hot. He, at a certain point, actually was even leading the league in hitting, although because he didn't have quite as many at-bats as some of the rest of the players, he wouldn't have been eligible for a batting title anyway. He's since leveled off and didn't quite stay up to about 360, which is where he was batting. But needless to say, a great performance by Jose on July 31st. Moving to the pitching mound, we have to go all the way back to July 1st, only the second week of the season, to find our top performer, and that was Felipe Perez, the Osprey's #1 starter, to start the season. Perez threw a complete game shutout against the Helena Brewers, and it was a 3-hitter, and he only threw 83 pitches to get through 9 innings, which is a crazy low amount in really any level, but especially down here at rookie ball, where most pitchers don't have the arm strength or the durability to even get through a 9-inning game. Perez would follow that up about 10 days later with another complete game effort. This one not a shutout, though. He did give up 1 unearned run in the 9th inning. So those are our 2 top performances from the year. Let's transition into our team MVPs, sort of chosen by me, who I kind of think were the most valuable players for the Osprey this season. We'll stay on the pitching mound, where Perez definitely took a good run at that position as the team MVP of the pitching rotation. But I think Silvino Bracho had the best season overall from the Osprey coming out of the bullpen. He was the closer after the opening day closer. Jose got the call up after only 1 game, and Bracho led the league in saves. He tallied 11 saves and finished with an ERA of about 1.7, which is pretty good. And I mean, he went about half the season before he even gave up his first earned run. And he didn't have the most opportunities to even get a lot of saves because the Osprey weren't winning a ton of games, especially in the midpoint of the season when he was really working into that groove. So he did the best that he could with kind of what he was given. Worked a lot of non-save situations, and that's where he gave up quite a few of those runs actually. Now I think he beats out Perez just by just by a hair probably. Perez was tied for the league lead with 7 wins, and he finished with an ERA of about 4.5 after a tremendous start. He also led the league in innings pitched, which isn't a big surprise for a guy who pitched 2 complete games when the rest of the league had only 2 total, and one of those was a 7-inning game. At the bat, I think the MVP for the Osprey would probably be Daniel Palka. Although he didn't play the entire season in Missoula, he got the call up to Hillsboro in the short season A club out there in Oregon. But when he left in August, he was leading the team pretty much every offensive category you could think of: home runs and RBIs, slugging and on-base percentage, and total bases, doubles, really everything across the board. But if we have to rule him out because he technically is no longer an Osprey, I think that award will bump down to the guy across the diamond from him at third base, Jake Meyers. Meyers got real hot right in the middle of the season, and unlike a couple of the other guys who went through some really nice streaks, he was really able to continue that and carry that on all the way until the end of the year. He has a batting average of .302 at the conclusion here, which is the same as Palka, and he also leads the team in RBIs with 41, and played just 2 more games with the Osprey than Palka did, because Palka was an everyday starter at first base. There's a couple other interesting storylines, some guys that we'll kind of catch you up on here. Guys that left the Osprey earlier on in the season. Blaine Weller was probably the most interesting one. He goes straight from the Pioneer League all the way up to AAA in August. He had been a big starter for the Osprey, the number 2 guy right behind Perez, before he got the call up to the Reno Aces. Now they really didn't need his arm completely. They just needed kind of a guy to fill into the back end of the bullpen for a couple of days. A flamethrowing righty basically, a big guy with some experience that they thought they could maybe give a shot. So he went up there for 1 game, pitched 1 scoreless inning before he got dropped back down a few tiers to Hillsboro, one ladder rung up from the Osprey, and he finished out the season there. He pitched, decently well. He kind of moved into a closer's role there because he had a lot of zip on that fastball, and he finished with 3 saves there, an ERA of about 2.5. But a guy who's made some progression, especially after playing in the independent leagues for a couple years, and he's starting to make that climb back up the ladder, which is nice to see. The other guy that really made some waves in Missoula, who is not here anymore either, is Justin Williams. He was a 2nd-round pick from this spring's draft, actually, an outfielder who came to the Osprey for just, he was like a flash in the pan, really. He was here for only 11 games. He had hits in 10 of those games and was batting over 400 by the time, the Diamondbacks organization was basically forced to bump him up another couple runs. He was batting so hot that, they thought they would give him a chance, even though he was only just turned 18 years old. He went straight up to the Class A South Bend Silverhawks, which is 2 steps above Missoula, and has struggled a little bit there. It's obviously a little bit different league. Guys are being able to locate their pitches a little better when they're throwing it to him, and I'm sure he's seen a little more velocity than he was in Missoula, especially. But he's the only one of those guys who's actually still playing, because South Bend is in the chase for a league championship. They're playing in their league championship actually starting on Wednesday. He struggled a little bit there. He's only in 3 games, he's only got 1 hit, which is a lot different than what he was doing down with the Osprey for certain. That just about wraps us up here for bird watching and the baseball season in Missoula. Please stay tuned for all of our future web series. We're going to be doing Prep Extra features every Wednesday night to run with the Prep Extra section in the Missoulian sports sections for Thursday. And then the following day, Thursday night for Friday's paper, we'll be running our weekly web chat, Grizz Tracks, with myself and Grizz football beat writer Bill Speltz. So check those out, and thanks for tuning in this season, and we look forward to baseball next spring. Thanks.